So thank you very much for joining us this evening. My name is Grace Nzula, otherwise known as Moderator of Choice. I am a HR consultant and trainer with Atara Solutions. I also run a carpentry school called Panessa Training Institute, and also major events coordinator for the Institute of Human Resources. You're tuned in to Get It Right with Atara Solutions. Get It Right with Atara Solutions is a webinar series that seeks to demystify issues in employment and entrepreneurship. We have this webinars every Tuesday from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. We are on season 3. We have done this since June 23rd, 2020. And we did 26 episodes in season 1. We did 34 episodes in season 3. And I mean in season 2, which ended last year in November. And right now we are on season 3, which we kicked off on January 18th. I think we're on 30-something episode. I have not kept tabs anymore. But we are really, really grateful. Tonight, we will be reaching out to you to give us feedback on how we should improve. What have you enjoyed the most? Are there speakers you'd suggest for us to host? What are some of the topics that you'd want us to discuss? And we just want to also know who really are our audience. So where do you work and stuff like that? Please indulge us in seeking this feedback, because we want to improve, we want to do better. We also want to just know what we're doing well. All right, so we will share a link at the end of this session. And Get It Right with Atara Solutions is brought to you by Atara Solutions in partnership with a number of organizations. We have been fortunate enough to have people who have said, you know what, we can support you in this endeavor, because we seek to support people to change the world through information. And therefore we have Balcon Housing. Balcon Housing is a real estate and property management company located in Nairobi. If you're looking to invest in a piece of land, or you have a piece of land that you wish to sell, Balcon Housing will be able to give you those services. If you have also a piece of a property that you're looking for managers, then Balcon Housing will be able to do that for you. And then we have Stallion Construction Company. Stallion Construction Company is a construction firm. If you're looking to renovate your office, if you're looking to renovate your house, if you're looking to put up a new house altogether, if you're looking to put on blinds, for example, if you're looking to change your tiles and stuff like that, then Stallion Construction will be able to give you those services. And then we have Ames College of Business and Technology. Oh my God, I'm using the wrong, just discovered I opened the wrong partnership. And I have gone that much. I have no idea what happened there. Yeah, anyway. I'm so sorry about that. And the way today I thought I'm so ready. I am not doing these technology things. And then here I am. But yeah, I will just continue. Just indulge me for a second as I figure out where the rightful partners for this season are. But yeah, so as that one comes up, allow me to just continue. And then we have the Pathway Service Solutions. Pathway Service Solutions have Pathway Solution Services. Pathways Solution Services have been offering us with free training. They have been giving us free trainings for the last, I think, the whole of season 2. And quite a number of us probably on this call have been fortunate enough to train with Pathway Solutions. And tonight we have an offer from Pathway Solutions as well. So stay tuned, because you stand a chance to get free training fully sponsored by Pathway Solutions. I know there are people who are set to receive their certificates this week, actually. Yeah, I think I saw a number of emails regarding that this week. So Pathway Solutions, please stay here. You will get a chance to get free training fully sponsored by Pathway Solutions. And then we also have Institute of Pension Management. Institute of Pension Management deals with pension management. They equip you on how best to manage pension in your organizations. They also equip you with knowledge on what exactly pension management means, And they also run, it's a school, so they also offer diploma courses and CHRP. So if you're an HR professional here, you haven't done your CHRP, then you need to register with Institute of Pension Management. And then we have Fina Gardens. Fina Gardens is a resort, is a hotel located in Naivasha along Moi South Lake. If you're looking to take a vacation for yourself, if you're in Naivasha for work and you're looking for a place to stay, if you're in Naivasha and you just wanted to do a staycation, a solocation, a vacation, or whatever it is, they have had an offer for us in the month of August. If you go to Fina Gardens this August, you actually get to pay for 2 nights and you get 1 night free. So if you have anything to do in Naivasha that requires you for 3 days, you'll be there for 2 nights and 1 night is free. And then please get in touch with us or check them out on Instagram or Facebook and get to learn more about them. They actually have a swimming pool and their fish is out of this world. I can tell you that for a fact. And then we have Panessa Training Institute. Panessa Training Institute is a carpentry school. This carpentry school, if you have people who are looking to hone their woodworking skills, or if you have passion for woodworking and you want to learn more, then Panessa Training Institute will be able to accommodate you. We have Saturday classes, we have weekday classes. So even if you're employed, you don't have to worry about balancing. And then we have Wicklin. Wicklin is a carpet cleaning company. They actually have a machine that cleans your carpet within 6 minutes, and therefore they pick up and drop your carpet on the same day. And it's actually pickup and delivery is free around Nairobi. Wicklin, you can check them out on Instagram or Facebook or their website, or get in touch with us and we'll be able to hook you up. Please do not stay in a dirty carpet, in a house with a dirty carpet, just because it's very cold. I can tell you, you will not even notice that you had taken the carpet out, because it will go in the morning and come back in the evening. And then we have Capula Mintito. Capula Mintito sells coastal goodies. So they have cheese, oh God, they have cashew cheese, which is very good for vegans. They also have mabuyu like no other. They have honey, they have simos, they have cashew nuts, among others. And then we have the Career Management Center. Career Management Center is a HR consulting firm. And they have a very, very good program for moms who are looking to bounce back into employment. So if you're a mom and you have taken, you have a career gap, or you took a break to become a mom, then, and you're looking to bounce back into work, then Career Management Center have a program and they can support you in that. And then we have Ames College of Business and Technology. So I apologize that I've taken longer than usual, but please, it is important that we acknowledge our partners. All right, and allow me to also acknowledge our sign language interpreter, Madam Catherine Sidandi. She supports us in making sure that we are inclusive. So if you know somebody who is who has hearing impairment, please ask them to join us, because we have them covered as well, so that we try and reach as many people as we can. So thank you very much, Catherine, and we are happy that you're here. Thank you so much. So without further ado, allow me to welcome Mr. Maina Megwe. He is our speaker this evening, and allow me to, we were supposed to host Mr. Maina a while back. Probably some of you are wondering whether you are with us or not. But before I read out Mr. Maina's profile, allow me to also recognize the presence of Herbert Zake from Kampala, Uganda. And anyone who is logged in, oh, I have seen Justin as well. Anyone from HR Mao on the call, anyone from Tanzania and Rwanda, I know we have a following there. We recognize your presence. And of course, our followers from Kenya, we love you and we appreciate you. So Maina Charles Megwe is the founder and CEO of Suluhu Mediation Center. He is an accredited mediator and trainer. He's a mentor and associate counselor at KCPA. Maina is currently lead mediator and trainer at Suluhu Mediation Center and a Mediation Institute representative for the Africa region. He is an experienced mediator, having mediated in employment and labor issues and family matters within East Africa and in South African region. He has carried out training for diverse teams within East Africa and South Africa regions. In addition, he's accredited by NITA and Mediation Institute, Australia, as a mediation trainer. He's accredited as a mediator by the Kenyan Judiciary and practices at the Milimani, Nyeri, and Korogoya High Courts. Aside from mediation, Maina is also experienced in human resource management, counseling, and workplace conflict and dispute resolution. So you can hear, you people, we are very much in good hands. And good evening, Betty, as well. Thank you very much for joining us. And without further ado, allow me to just welcome Mr. Maina, who will take over now and tell us exactly what do we do with this ADR. And by the way, when I sent out the flyer, somebody was like, you're talking about workplaces. What about families? And I almost said you need to find a therapist. But I see you're also a counselor, so I believe you're in good hands.
Thank you, Grace. Thank you, Grace, for the invitation. And also thank you to Catherine for making sure that everyone can be able to hear what the conversations here. And apologies to those who had attended the last time I was supposed to be here. I had, my health was a bit opaque and it was reading 0.01, so I was not able to be here with you. And so here we are talking about matters ADR, or alternative dispute resolution. And for us maybe to understand this, we also need to look at how dispute comes about and how where it starts from, how does it progress. So I will share my screen here so that then we can be able to see how a dispute progresses. So more often than not, we always, everybody loves peace. Nobody wants to be in a dispute or in a conflict. So this small mountain of mine here shows how conflict escalates. So normally issues starts when we have differences, when we cannot be able to agree on issues. And then if there is an intervention, if we are able to negotiate, if we are able to convince each other so that then we come to a common understanding, then we can have acceptance and then move back to the desired level of peace. However, if the differences are not checked, then they may then grow to become disagreements. And you can see from that mountain that the heat starts rising. However, if there is an intervention, then there is bound to be an agreement, acceptance, and then we can move back to the desired position of peace. However, if the disagreements are not checked, then they can become a problem. And when now it's a problem, this situation, then we may not be able to look each other in the eye. But then if there is an intervention, so that then we can work on problem solving, get an agreement, acceptance, and back to peace, then that we can get back to where we desire, a situation of peace. However, if the problem is not checked, then it might get to become a dispute. And when it becomes a dispute, as you can see, the heat is high. It might then progress to become a conflict, which may result into violence and eventually war. However, at any point, if there is an intervention, if there is an intervention, then we can be able to talk about resolving the dispute, resolving the problem, and then going back to, going down the mountain back to peace. So that's just a snapshot of how disagreements come about, how we get into, we have disputes. So that then now we can look at how do we resolve these disputes. And maybe just at the beginning, it's important to mention that it's not all disputes or conflicts which may not be desired. Some disputes, some conflicts can then move us from where we are to looking at things differently and maybe moving on to progressing. So how do we resolve disputes? We have disputes at the workplace. There are differences with colleagues, with our seniors, with our suppliers, or even authorities who then we may be interacting with from day to day. So how do we resolve them? The traditional way, or what most normally resort to, are the courts. All right, so within the courts, that's where most people will channel their disputes, maybe for certain reasons, or maybe because they may not be aware of other ways of resolving disputes. So so when we are talking about ADR, we are talking about alternative dispute resolution. And so when we are talking about them being alternative to what? They are alternative to the legal system. They are alternative to the court. So what are these ways or alternative dispute resolution mechanisms? The major ones, which you'll find at the international level, are arbitration, there is conciliation, and then there is mediation. And there is also traditional dispute resolution mechanisms. So I'll share a diagram here, which will help us to have an interaction with these various mechanisms and be able to see what they are and how they differ from each other. So when you're talking about the judicial process, or what happens in the court, there are times we submit disputes before the court for resolution. So the judicial process or the court process is an adjudicatory process where a neutral third party, in the name of the judge, decides the outcome. So what happens is that we submit our dispute to the court so that then a determination can be made and an award given. So the process within the court and the decisions are governed by restricted and controlled by legislation. So various jurisdictions will have a legislation which will govern how disputes are resolved within the courts. And the decisions which are made in the court are binding, but they are subject to appeal. So if a lower court makes a decision and one of the parties are not happy with the decision made, then they can always appeal to a higher court, and so on and so forth until they reach the apex court, which then may be final. And in some situations, like for us here in East Africa, we have the East African Court. So if one exhausts the legal system within their country, then there is the East African Court where a number of the disputes have been submitted. The rules within the judicial system are adversarial in nature. This means that there people don't go to make friendship, they go there to fight for their rights. And the rules of evidence apply, and focus is normally on past events and determining rights. It's a very formal process within the court, and communication is not direct between the parties in dispute. So that's the traditional system that we are used to. Then we have now the ADR processes, or the alternative dispute resolution mechanisms. Arbitration is one of the most talked about, and arbitration is a quasi-judicial adjudicatory process where an arbitrator decides the outcome. So it's not very different from the judicial process, only that here you have an arbitrator who in all terms is a private judge. So you don't have to wait in line. So you can hire one, and then they can be able to help the parties in dispute to resolve the dispute. The process in arbitration is governed and restricted and controlled by the legislation under the arbitration, under which arbitration occurs, and the award is binding, but again, it's subject to appeal on specified grounds. The rules are adversarial, and the rules of evidence apply, and the focus is on determining rights and liabilities. Again, the process is formal, and the proceedings are held in private following a strict procedural stages. And again, communication between the parties in dispute is not direct. So that's arbitration. Then the other, yes, please.
The audience is saying okay. Maybe you need to check your side. Whoever has a volume issue, maybe you can increase your end, because I had seen some people saying that they couldn't hear you well, but I've seen people say they can hear you well. So probably you need to check your sound and maybe increase the volume on your end. Sorry about that. Let's go on.
All right. Can you hear me clearly, Grace, yourself?
I have been. Yes. Yes.
All right. Maybe then there could be an issue there. All right. So we've just covered, or rather interacted with the judicial process or the court process, and also arbitration. Then the other ADR process is conciliation. And conciliation is a voluntary party-centered positional bargaining process. So when you're talking about voluntary, this means that the parties in these who opt for this mechanism come to it voluntarily. They are not coerced, all right? And they bargain for certain positions. Conciliation, you'll mostly hear it in matters to do with labor issues, and the parties will come with certain positions and then bargain from those particular positions. So the person who runs this process is called a conciliator, and the conciliator has an evaluative role. So this conciliator evaluates the dispute and can suggest to the parties how they can go about resolving the issue, but they cannot make a determination. The determination of the solution to the matter is made by the parties in dispute. There is a freedom and flexibility regarding the procedure and decisions within ethical guidelines and the context within which the conciliation occurs. A decision which is arrived at in conciliation is binding. Is binding and is reached only if the parties arrive at a mutually acceptable agreement. So they have to agree on the settlement to their dispute with the assistance of a conciliator who runs an evaluative role. Again, this evaluator provides professional opinion on agreement, and the focus here is on the present and the future. It is non-judicial and informal, and the proceedings are held in private with flexible procedural stages. This is now in contrast to the court process and arbitration, where the proceedings are formal. The parties or the advocates can communicate directly with each other in the presence of the conciliator. This is in contrast to what happens in court and also in arbitration, where communication is not direct between the parties. And then we have mediation. Mediation now is the third ADR process, which is used in resolving dispute. Mediation, just like a conciliation, is a voluntary process. As such, the parties who submit to this process do so voluntarily. In court, if there's a matter against you, then you have to attend. It's not voluntary. You are coerced to attend because someone has raised an issue regarding you. In mediation, it is voluntary, and it's a party-centered negotiation process. In mediation, the parties, with the assistance of a mediator, get to identify issues, concerns, and then agree on how to accommodate. So the mediator here facilitates direct negotiation and the parties decide the terms of settlement. So the mediator here does not evaluate as opposed to conciliation, where the conciliator will be evaluating. There is freedom and flexibility regarding procedure and decisions within ethical guidelines. Decisions or settlements reached through mediation binding only if the parties arrive at a mutually acceptable agreement, and this decision cannot be imposed. If the decision is reached in court under the court annexed mediation, then that decision is binding, it is final, and it is not subject to appeal. However, if it is done outside of court, it is not binding unless the parties decide to register it with the court for recognition and possible enforcement. In mediation, the focus is on the present and future, and resolution is by mutual agreement. It is an unjudicial and informal proceeding held in private with flexible procedural stages, and there is optimal opportunities for the parties to communicate directly with each other in the presence of the mediator. So those are the three ADR processes, and then we have the traditional processes. The traditional systems will depend from community to community. However, in different jurisdictions, they will be subservient to the legislation in place and also to the Bill of Rights. Some of the practices may not be in conformity to the law or to the Bill of Rights. As such, they will be governed by that. But then those are the four processes which are there to help resolve disputes. Maybe you might not, you may not be able to use the traditional system in a workplace situation, but then it may apply for certain family disputes. It may be able, that may be used there. So these processes, now, which of these processes would you then submit your dispute, or how would you go about choosing which process to submit a dispute to? So the choice, like for instance, between mediation and arbitration, depends on your situation and if the issues are pressing. Because if issues are pressing and the parties in dispute want a quick resolution, then the court system may not work for them because it's a formal process and you may not rush. In arbitration, it may move fast. In mediation, it may move even faster, all right? Then if your case involves multiple jurisdictions or it involves multiple types of issues, then you may choose, this then may guide you on whether to submit your dispute to mediation or arbitration. Again, if you're a busy person and time is of essence, then you may then think of maybe using submitting your dispute to mediation, which may be faster than arbitration. Or if it is important for you to try and resolve the dispute in accordance with the timeline that you want to control. If you like flexibility and the opportunity to be creative in solving your problem, then you may choose mediation or conciliation. If you're concerned about costs, then you may choose to avoid the court. Again, if the thought of public litigation and the trial causes you stress and anxiety, you may choose not to go the court way. And if you're interested in preserving or expanding business relations with the opponent in the dispute, then you may choose mediation, because in mediation, the process is cordial, and you and your opponent are able to discuss through the issues. Sometimes you could be in a dispute with your employer or employee. You may choose to do it through mediation, because mediation will present you with an opportunity to resolve your disputes in a confidential manner outside of the public eye, which then may be kind on your image, because in the public court, anything can happen and your brand may be harmed. Again, if confidentiality is important for you, then this also may guide you in what process to choose. And again, if you want to settle a strict legal issue, or you need a ruling to send a clear message, then this again may maybe help you choose what system to use. Maybe you may want to do it in court, because then you'll be able to send a clear message to deter recurrence. So those are the various ADR processes. It's a very wide project, but again, it's a very wide topic, and you may also interact with negotiation. Negotiation is also a way to resolve simple disputes. So disputes which occur within the workplace may be negotiated so that then the disputants can find a solution within a short time just from where they're working. All right. So those are the ADR processes, and also because of time, then I may not be able to go over and beyond, but those are the processes which are recognized within at the international level. In various jurisdictions, then you may find that there are also other processes which may be traditional in nature. Again, also when disputes are being resolved, there could be a use of a hybrid system to resolve, so that then you may hear of the mediation arbitration, or you may hear a situation where it is the judicial process, arbitration and mediation, depending on the complexity of the dispute, because disputes may have various components. You may be having one dispute, but there are various components, some of which can be resolved through ADR, maybe through mediation, some issues which can be resolved within mediation, and some which then may need to be submitted to the formal legal process. Right, so there we are, unless there are questions.
I'm sure there are quite a number of questions. And I was just busy thinking, this is something we probably would, and especially for the HR professionals who are on the call, or just business leaders, CEOs, business owners, just most of the time when we're interacting with people, I think some of the issues that we try to balloon can be easily solved through mediation. I'm thinking, just by listening to you, and I'm just wondering, are there cases where ADR like really has hit the wall completely, and this would be when the parties are not in agreement, or when they don't want to follow, or?
Yes, there are times that maybe even through the ADR process or through mediation, for example, that issues have not been able to be resolved. However, at the time that a matter is submitted for resolution, say through mediation, in hindsight, we know that there could be three possible scenarios or results. Either the parties in dispute will agree on all the issues so that then they have full settlement, or they may agree on some issues and disagree on others so that then they have a partial agreement. And then they may not agree on all issues so that then they end up with no agreement, because mediation is a voluntary process and the parties arrive at agreements voluntarily. They are not coerced. So if they agree on some issues, then if it's within the court, then the court can adopt that partial agreement, issue it as an order or judgment of the court, and then the parties in dispute can then agree, what do we do with this? Then they may submit this to a different process. All right. The mediator there also can refer the parties to a different process, maybe back to court, or maybe they can be referred to go and for a traditional way of resolving the issues, especially family issues. There are some family issues which are resolved in the traditional manner. All right. Some have had situations where families have agreed on some issues and then they've said, let's take it to a council of elders, or maybe they may go and they'll do something to a black goat and things are okay. It's their own way of resolving the issues. As long as the issue is resolved, it doesn't matter how it has been, as long as it's in conformance with the law.
All right. Yeah. Interesting.
And maybe to mention, because you've mentioned about business leaders, it's also important to note that, like for instance, within the jurisdiction of Kenya, the Constitution under Article 159 mandates the judiciary to encourage use of ADR in resolving issues. And again, business leaders can also train, like for instance, mediation. And if they train mediation, then they may be able to help resolve certain issues, which they can be able to do. Or they may also now be in a position to be able to screen matters and find out what can be submitted to, say, mediation, what can be submitted to ADR, to arbitration, and maybe what must go through the courts. So that then all matters are not channeled to court, even those which could necessarily have been resolved in the factory floor, or within the company, or through a mediation process. Right?
I've seen a question by Jane who is saying, who amongst the parties chooses a mediator?
Well, mediation is a voluntary process. So both parties have to agree. So if the dispute is between Maina and Grace, and Maina thinks of mediation and maybe approaches a mediator, then Grace too has to get a buy-in into the process, right? So either Maina would ask Grace that we go to a mediator, or I would use an intermediary, or the mediator could be detailed to reach out to the opponent and explain to them about Maina's suggestion for them to submit their issue to mediation. And if then they submit their issue to mediation, ordinarily then the fee for mediation, they could then agree to share the costs of mediation.
Okay. Yeah, because then somebody has to pay the mediator, right?
Very true. we need to earn a living, Grace.
I know. And somebody else is asking, in an employee-employer dispute, particularly boss-subordinate conflict, how does one go about getting the employer into mediation?
All right. Now, for instance, let's say here at Atara, Grace, you have a dispute with your boss. If then you approach Maina, the mediator, then Maina would then be able to reach out to your superior and explain. Or at the same time, you could also approach your superior through an intermediary or directly and suggest to them that you can resolve through mediation. And if I'm reaching out then to your superior, I would be able to sell to them the idea of mediation, because this will be done in everything will be done confidentially. So again, this saves a lot in terms of image, because when it's done in an open court, then things may not work out very well for your superior or for the organization, and there are issues to do with the image and even people's careers.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then Jared is saying, assume a clause in a CBA is left in abeyance and referred for mediation, and within the time frame given, it is not resolved. Is it still enforceable if it were part and parcel of the CBA being reviewed?
All right, please let me get these. So these an issue has been submitted, a CBA issue has been submitted to mediation for to try and find a middle ground, but then it has been delayed. The decision has been delayed.
Yes.
So what would happen? Again, a CBA is, of course, between employers and employees or their unions. Then the parties then will have agreed. I'm sure they can always agree that this issue is still pending. Maybe they can still hold for it. So it depends on what the parties in dispute agree, because they're the ones who are agreeing to submit that to mediation. And so then if it delays to be resolved within expected timelines within mediation, then the parties can still agree. Then what do we do? Do we still give it more time? Or is it taking too long then, so that then we can submit it to a different process?
Okay.
Yeah.
And then Kennedy is saying, when can one include an ADR clause in a contract as a conflict resolution process?
When can one?
Yes.
Yes, with the realization of the emerging trends in dispute resolution, I think it's important for organizations to relook at their manuals, HR manuals, to update them to reflect this fact, so that then when there's a dispute within the organization, you could always try less abrasive means of resolving such a dispute. If it was to be submitted, for instance, to mediation, it is a process where issues can be solved in confidence. It is less abrasive, or rather it is not abrasive, such that then relationships can still be maintained. Even if at the end of the day, the decision is that we part ways, it is done in an amicable way, which then does not harm the image of the organization. It can still attract top talent. It can still have a great environment to work in, because where people are not happy, where people have submitted their disputes to the court, there are so many people who will be listening out there. There will be so many interpretations, and this can harm relationships. It can damage images, and it can also harm the bottom line of the organization. We've had, like, there is an example of a certain local international company now which cannot export their goods to quite a number of destinations abroad because of the bad publicity which has emanated from them having disputes with the surrounding communities. So if these disputes were resolved confidentially, then they would not be having the embargo they are having abroad. And it's resulting in millions of losses besides job losses on the ground. Yeah.
Okay. Patrick Okanang is saying, what happens to decisions made to decisions under mediation, and like judicial process that bases decisions on past decisions or on similar scenarios? The mediator is handling unique conflicts that allows the parties to agree to resolve the disputes. Is a mediator free to share the aggrieved parties the past decisions, and how will this be communicated where confidentiality is an issue?
All right. Now, in mediation, there are no precedents. In court, there are precedents where people will be referring to certain judgments which were made in certain matters. The big case which is there are already precedents which are being referred to. But in mediation, the parties sit down and agree how to resolve their issues. All right? So if I have your debt, Grace, and maybe one of these days I need to borrow some 500,000, but then we have a dispute. I've not been able to repay it for the last 5 years, despite having promised to do it within a certain time. So in mediation, we can meet, we can agree how to resolve, and maybe we can even agree that I just apologize and it is resolved. That's our own way of doing it. Or then we can agree that I'll be coming to Antara Solutions offices for the next 1 month, mopping the floors. So in mediation, you can arrive at your own creative way of resolving disputes. So it's not governed by strict laws or precedents. It's simply what works for the parties in dispute.
Okay. And then there's, let me just get the name, William, who is saying, at what point will you seek for a mediator or an arbitrator?
At what point?
If
we were to remember that mountain that I took you up, right? Maybe at one of these days you should organize, we go hiking somewhere. Now, if that mountain that we just hiked, the longer it takes to resolve a dispute, the more it grows being more protracted, so that then it moves from being differences, goes on to become disputes, conflicts, and even violence and war. Because the longer a dispute takes to be resolved, the more it sucks in more people into it. Supporters also join. It becomes more complex. It becomes more protracted. So the earlier a dispute is resolved, the better. If it is resolved at differences, then less efforts are required. If it grows now, becomes a conflict, more efforts are required, more resources are required. So the earlier, the better.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then Hannah is saying, when an employee goes to court, can you still seek ADR? The employment talks of arbitration. How do you change from court to arbitration?
All right. When the matters are in court, you're asking when you can change to arbitration or to mediation?
She's talking about arbitration.
Or arbitration. If a matter is in court and now you want to move it to arbitration, if the parties agree, then they can move it to arbitration. Again, if it's a contract, did they have a clause on how to resolve dispute? If there was a clause on arbitration, then that would be the first port of call. If they are in court and they agree to submit their dispute to a different process, then the court more often than not will not bar them from doing that. As long as there is concurrence, there is an agreement between the parties in dispute to submit their dispute to a different process.
Okay. Then Stephen Dongo is saying employer and employee find themselves in court, whereby the employer wins the case and I'm assuming this is employee wins the case and employer appeals. What is the best method to resolve or mediate the two?
Again, remember the mediation process is a voluntary process. So the parties then would need to agree to submit their issue to court, to mediation. However, within the court, within the Kenyan court system, there is a process, and this is also stemming from what the Constitution mandates the judiciary to do. That is to promote the use of ADR. So if one of the parties requests for their matter to be submitted for mediation, then the court at its own discretion can order the parties to attend mediation.
Oh.
Yeah, in some jurisdictions, there are certain matters like, I believe in Tanzania, most labor issues, the first port of call is mediation. Yeah, the first port of call is mediation. So we're also having a trend, like in Britain now, they're working on having a certain category of matters submitted to mediation as a first port of call. Recently, we had a bill which unfortunately was not passed into law, which was dictating that all civil matters, they must pass through mediation before they can be listed in court. So mediation, ADR, is growing in leaps and bounds. Like for instance, now mediation, we have the Singapore Convention, which those countries which sign up to that convention, within their jurisdictions, international mediated disputes, those settlements reached can be enforced in any of those countries. All right. So this again is easing trade and also improving countries' ease of doing business index, which is kept by the World Bank. Normally has an index, and most of the countries, like for instance, Kenya has really improved their standing on that index because of use of ADR in resolving disputes. So those countries where they are using ADR, then they are attracting investments, as opposed to those countries where they are not using ADR. Because when investors come, their business is not staying in courts. Their core business is investing. So they want to use most of their time in investing. Employers don't want to spend their time in court. That's not their core business, all right? They want, if there's a dispute, it should be resolved within the shortest time possible. And nobody wants it to have an effect on their image or their bottom line, all right? So employers, and this is also why it's important for HR people to be well versed with this, maybe even trained to become mediators, which is a short course. It's a 1-week course. And then with this information, then they can be able to advise businesses on how they can resolve disputes, because the HR person of today is not the traditional HR person we knew there. Their role in within the organization is very significant, and they have quite a huge responsibility. And because disputes can bring down an organization, so if they are resolved fast, then that's key to ensuring that a business can be able to focus on their core mandate.
Absolutely. And I like what Edwin Apacha has added here. Mediation focuses majorly on the way forward, not dwelling on whatever has already happened. I think that is a good summary. And Jane is asking, how can they contact you? And then Modesta is asking, have employers really embraced ADR?
Yes, employers are really not very many. Maybe the issue here could be they may not be well versed with what mediation is all about. And this then may be what could be hampering its uptake. But then those who have interacted with it, then they are able to embrace it. So depends on whether they've interacted with what ADR is all about. Because you may not be able to embrace that which you don't know. And that is why it's important for HR persons or those who are here to spread that gospel, so that then employers
we have be all professionals, but I'm assuming 60% is HR. Yeah. But yes, I hear you.
Yeah, it's important because even like now, recently we had a conversation with the Engineers Association of Kenya. They also want to train in mediation and in ADR, so that then, because they also have disputes. There's no field which does not have disputes. Hospitals everywhere, their disputes. All right. And ADR presents an opportunity for people to be able to resolve disputes fast, cost effectively, and of course, taking care of relationships, families too. Within organizations, we have employees, they have family issues, and again, they'll be knocking at someone's door more often than not the HR office. And then the HR person should be able to assist the employees how to resolve those disputes. Sometimes we have people knocking and saying, this person has not been seen at home. The children are not in school. Again, ADR will be able to resolve such disputes. And
I had seen a question. Just go ahead.
Yeah. Yes.
Just finish.
So then if your employees are at ease, then of course they'll be more productive. But if they have family issues, again, it will affect how they do their job, and ultimately the organization as a whole will be affected. Yes, okay. Grace, there's a question that you've seen.
Yeah, that came to mind as you were talking. No, right? There's Harriet who's saying, can ADR methods work in marriage? And is ADR same as out of court settlement?
Exactly. Those mediation works very well in terms of helping resolve family dispute, matters to do with the divorce, matters to do with the children, so that then minor here can be able to resolve an issue with his baby mama without antagonizing the main kingdom. So we can meet and resolve our issues confidentially, all right? So that then mama is also at peace and the baby mama is also at peace. So these issues can be resolved through mediation. And in fact, mediation is the best way of resolving family issues, because the parties who are in dispute sit down together and they are able to identify their issues, needs, and concerns, and then agree on how to accommodate each other. So yes, mediation can be used to resolve family disputes, including divorce.
I didn't know I was on mute. And there's William who is asking, where can I get a good mediation course? Suluhu Mediation trains in mediation. So Maina can be your teacher. I've seen quite a number of students of yours here. I've seen Masikamawa, I've seen So, and a number of people here. Where is Suluhu Mediation Center? Or I Google?
Suluhu Mediation Center, we are at Tatu City. We are at Tatu City. I've also shared our email there, our contact number.
Are there virtual classes?
Yes, we do have virtual classes. In fact, this week we are in one which is now in its day 3. So we also do have there are virtual classes which are live, where you have one-on-one and live interaction with the fellow trainees and the facilitators. We call it the live virtual class. And then we have self-paced online courses. So this is one where you can get access to a platform, go through the modules, and eventually become a mediator. So you can train at your own time without leaving, without pressure of timelines, timetables. This you do at your own time in your own space. And then we also offer physical classes or physical workshops, so that then if there are quora, there's an organization which would like for us to come in and train there, we can also come and train there. So besides training mediators, we also offer skill gap training for those mediators who are practicing, and then they could have stopped practicing for one reason or the other. We also offer mentorship and also courses on hosting online meetings or mediations, so that then we can also become experts like Grace and be able to run an online mediation seamlessly and professionally.
Absolutely. Then there's another question. There are 2 questions actually. There's one who said, what should an employee do when undergoing a disciplinary that they feel is unfair and unjust to them, but they can't hear none of the explanation?
All right. If they're going through a disciplinary process and you're saying that they feel that it's not going right,
they
it's
feel
not
it's
being
unfair.
fair to them.
Yeah. And this is employee to employer.
Employee to employer, then it's also important that both parties know that they can be able to submit that matter for mediation. Again, depending on, is it a matter which is mediatable? Because it's not all matters which can be mediated, all right? If today someone gets involved in a criminal activity, it may not be possible to submit that to for mediation. Like for instance, if it's murder, if it's child abuse, those are matters which cannot be submitted for mediation. However, if the matters at hand, the disciplinary process or whatever these employees going through is mediatable, and then it is possible for the employer to also agree to submit to this process, then yes, they can go through a mediation process. But again, being a voluntary process, both parties have to get a buy-in to submit their dispute to the process.
Okay. And then there's another question by Paul who says, please talk about the legal and professional framework for this discipline.
The legal and professional framework for which discipline? Mediation.
I'm assuming it's
or arbitration. Or conciliation.
I don't know, Paul, you need to tell us what you mean. Yeah, and Linda, as we wait for Paul to clarify, Paul Okwemba, we have Linda. Linda, you're asking for the contacts I've shared to your inbox. I've shared to your inbox, and as Paul, I'm waiting for you to clarify your question. But as Paul answers the question, the same person is asking, is an employer, in order to issue a warning to an employee who have not signed a contract with the employer, will the warning bind?
All right, now that would be a bit outside of my area.
I figured. I can answer that. Yeah. If you are employed, if you have been working in that organization and you have received a salary and you have also been showing up every day, there's something we call an implied contract. So that means you have an implied contract with the employer. And what that means is whatever provisions are in the Employment Act actually apply. So if you have been, or you have wronged your employer and they give you a warning, then it means that the Employment Act provisions actually apply to you. So it's called an implied contract, where you have been going as an employee and you have an employer, and in as much as there is no defined relationship between the two of you, there is something that is called implied contract, and that means the laws of the land that govern employer-employee relationship apply to you guys. So yes, they can actually issue you with a warning letter. But you need to also push that you get contracts, because it's important that you know the terms and conditions of your engagement. However, if you haven't received and you have been going to work, because sometimes it's not within your control, please note you are an employee with an implied contract. And
very
yeah.
true, very true. Maybe Grace also to mention there's a matter which I'm mediating, which is between what do we call them, the house managers. There was no contract, no signed contract, but they have to sit down and agree how to resolve things. There have also been landmark cases where house managers have taken the employers to court, and big monies have been awarded. So yes. Yeah. And then Paul has also updated and said, I've just seen it flash
Yes.
Talking about mediation and arbitration.
Yes, he's the one
Great.
clarifying the legal and professional framework.
All right. Now, in terms of the legality of these processes, they are, the judiciary is mandated by the Constitution under Article 159 for these processes, for ADR to be promoted. So essentially, these two processes have legal backing, and the judiciary is encouraged, or rather it is mandated to promote their use. And that's why, for instance, now the judiciary has implemented mediation in quite a number of courts across the Republic. I believe now we should be having almost 40 courts which have now opened their doors for mediation. And the big plan is for all courts within our jurisdiction, within Kenya, to offer mediation services, and for mediators to be shortlisted, or rather to be appointed in various matters across the Republic. And that's why most people are going for mediation training. At the moment, the judiciary has recruited slightly above 1,000 mediators, and they still need more mediators to serve all courts. They have a target of 10,000 mediators. So that then that's also something that one can do as a side hustle. Kenyans, we love side hustles. You can always be able to help resolve matters in a court near you, and the judiciary is paying 20,000 per file at the moment. So maybe you can have done 10 files within the month, and that translates to 200,000. And because I'm letting you in on this, can get 10%. Don't give me 0.01. That may not work very well. Yeah.
Minor, he's called minor, please note some of these things, whatever. Tanzania has very strong and vibrant commission for mediation and arbitration. Yes, that is what Mr. Minor alluded to earlier. And Masi Kamau, your hand has been up. I don't know whether you wanted to say something, Masi Kamau. Masi Kamau?
Oh, no, please. No, please. Thank you.
Okay,
I'm following. Sorry.
Okay. All right, no problem. All right. So allow me to also just give you some goodies from Pathway Service Solutions tonight, because you guys are doing an amazing job. So with Pathways today, we have offers for 3 people, and then we also have offers for organizations. So if you have you want your organization trained in one of the courses that we are about to announce, you just write us an email. I will put my email and that one for Frank on the chat, because somehow you guys have been missing out on it. And I don't know. Okay, this thing is not going full screen. What? Wait. So 3 people will get trained on anger management. Then there's conflict management at the workplace. There's customer relationship. Oh God, there's a misspelling there. Management. And then there's sales and customer service training on LMS. And yeah, so there's training on anger management, conflict management at the workplace, customer relations management, and sales and customer service training. This is offered on the LMS. LMS is learning management system. So you learn, you pace yourself. They give you timelines of to how long you can take to finalize. And then you get a beautiful certificate. We have quite a number receiving. We'll make an announcement next week. And to qualify for this, you need to express interest. Send us an email at grace@atarasolutions.co.ke or Frank at pathways with an S, solution services. Services also has an end at the end. So there's pathway and then double S and then solution services as well at the end, and then .co.uk. Some of you have been getting the Frank's email wrongly. You can screenshot and then send the email later. Your full name and email is required to register on the LMS. And please write a paragraph on why you want to be sponsored for 2 courses. So if you're here on this call, please take advantage of this offer. It's fully sponsored by Pathway Solution Services. And please take advantage because, I mean, you need this. And then for organizations, if you want free training for your company, there is a training on conflict resolution, emotional intelligence, delivering constructive feedback, high performance teams, those are who are remote, millennial onboarding, managing difficult people, crisis management, and managing workplace anxiety. You need to write us an email and we can organize for the training for you. This will be delivered through Zoom or Google Meets. And please, you must write a paragraph of the reason why you want this training done. And this will be trained for up to 100 people. So imagine if your organization, you have like 20, 50, 30, 100, you all get this training for free. And it will be delivered in the month of October. So please book now so that Frank can put that in his calendar and he'll be able to train you guys for free for these courses. So just indicate on the email which course you want to be trained for, either for you or for your organization, and then we will make arrangements for this. For company, you select a maximum of 2 or just 1. So please take advantage of this offer. It is brought to you. And please make sure that you write a paragraph of why you have deserved this as an organization or as an individual. Yeah, so write to us on grace@atarasolutions.co.ke or Frank at Pathways Solution Services.co.uk. Please take advantage of this. This is for you as followers of Get It Right. We promise to keep you informed. Okay, so Jacinta has put the emails on the Nini. Jacinta, please also put the same on Facebook. Last week we forgot to give them. Kindly share the first individual courses on it just quickly as we ask Mr. Migwe to give us his closing remarks. There is anger management, there's conflict management at the workplace, there's customer relationship, and then there's sales and customer service training. And then dealing with difficult people can be organized on a Zoom, and this is open to everyone. So yeah, there we go. I hope you've gotten a chance to take a screenshot of this so that you can send us an email. Jacinta has put the email on the chat, so please take advantage because this is offer for you. Okay, thank you. So I think, oh yeah, and there's somebody who had asked, I don't know whether they are still on the call. There's somebody who had asked you to share the presentation. But Paul Akanang is saying employees in the face of the judicial are said to be weaker, yet employees take decisions taken to be conclusions that end up employers bleeding money. Can an independent person qualify to be involved in an appeal process? Minor.
All right, so you're talking about a matter which has gone to court and a decision made, which is seen not to be fair to the employee. Is that the question, whether this can be appealed?
Yes.
Yes, any decisions made in court can always be appealed. However, if it's a court mandated mediation, then the decision will have been made by the employer and the employee. So the issue of unfairness would then not arise because they'll have made the decision which is mutual and agreeable to both. But
He's
yes,
saying
yeah,
he's saying, can an independent person qualify to be involved in an appeal process?
An independent person, it will depend if they have an interest in the matter. All right, because if you express an interest in a matter, then you can be enjoined in that process. But again, that's a legal process. It would be best. My advice is not legal. You'd still need to consult your lawyer, that being a judicial process. I have no background legal background. So even those of us who are here and they have no legal background, you can still be able to train and be a dispute resolution professional in any of the ADR processes.
Excellent, excellent. So I have seen Jacinta has posted to you our YouTube channel. This recording will be uploaded there. Please subscribe. And then we are asking you to give us feedback. Jacinta, maybe you can share the feedback form or link rather. Please give us feedback on what your experience with us so far, so that we can be able to improve. And as Jacinta is doing that, Maina, parting shot.
Yes, all right. I'd like first to thank you, Grace, for inviting me. I'd also like to thank all those who attended today. And well, a dispute and conflict resolution is not only for professionals in the field. We can always ensure to sharpen our listening skills, because that's where most disputes start from. Because people do not understand each other, then they have the differences then which can progress. So let's also work on sharpening our listening skills, so that then we can always be able to listen, to hear, to understand, and be able to hear that which is being said and that which is not being said, so that then we can be conflict competent. So thank you very much. And our contacts have been shared, and you can always reach out to Suluhu Mediation in case you have issues, and consultation will not be charging. Thank you so much. Have a lovely evening.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Maina. And we appreciate that you took the time to be here with us. We really, really appreciate. Allow me to also mention this webinar is brought to you by Atara Solutions in partnership with a number of organizations. We have Balcon Housing. Balcon Housing is a real estate and property management company. We have Stallion Construction Company, which is a construction firm. We have Pathway Solution Services, which provides a training on LMS, and they also deliver virtual trainings. And they also have partnered with Atara Solutions to bring trainings onto your desktop. Oh yeah, and then we have Institute of Pension Management. If you're a HR here hoping to do your CHRP, Institute of Pension Management, they actually have online classes. And then we have Fina Gardens. Fina Gardens is a resort in Naivasha for all your holiday or just going out for lunch. They have a beautiful, beautiful swimming pool. And then we have Panessa Training Institute, which is a carpentry school. We Clean, which is a carpet cleaning company. Kapula Mintito, which is a shop that deals in coastal goods like cashew nuts and mabuyu. Career Management Center, which is a HR firm that offers moms who are bouncing back into organizations an opportunity to be coached. And then Ames College of Business. Of course, Atara Solutions, your training partner. Please call us for trainings, in-house training. Call us to organize trainings or talks for your for your employees. And then, of course, please give us your feedback. Please give us your feedback. We have put in the link there. And then please take advantage of the offers by Pathway Service Solutions. And thank you to everyone who joined us in Kenya, in East Africa, from all over the world. Thank you so much for keeping it at Atara Solutions. We really, really appreciate you. See you next Tuesday, same time, same place, as we tackle another issue that affects either employers or employees. We really, really, really appreciate you. And I hope you guys have been gaining. Please don't forget to give us feedback. Follow us on Instagram. We call ourselves Atara Solutions. Find us on LinkedIn, Atara Solutions. Find us on Facebook. And our Facebook family, I have looked today, and there is no question from Facebook. Please give us feedback as well. And then like our Facebook page, Atara Solutions. You can also link up with me personally on LinkedIn as CHRP Grace Nzula. I am always your true moderator of choice. And of course, I provide HR consultancy and training as a company and as a person. And thank you so much. I really, really appreciate you. And thank you, thank you, thank you. We cannot do this without you. And to our partners, we always, always appreciate you. So asanteni sana. And I know, Bahati, you're waiting for this music. Just hold on a second as I bring to you your whatever. but yeah, where were we? So have yourselves a lovely, lovely night.